Day for today. We have a special presentation toward the end. But in traditional Huddle fashion, we kick off everything with opening prayer. Back in Acts Conversations, and we're about to get started with Huddle and opening prayer. My name is Trayvon Butler. I'm one of the senior advisors for the Youth Huddle here at National Action Network. And this will be my co-host.
Christian Richardson, and Youth Huddle Youth Rep. So our opening prayer tonight will be said by Huddle Senior Advisor, Chief Perry.
Good evening, Huddle family. So right now, we're going to ask to stop movement, stop talking. Prayer is important, leadership. And before I start to pray, we're going to ask to hold a moment of silence for the name Carlos Lopez. I don't know if you guys have heard of him before. He would have turned 37 20 years ago. So last Saturday, there was a memorial for him. He was killed by the cops 20 years ago, and they still haven't received any justice. So we want to just call his name, have a moment of silence, and then we'll go into the prayer. Let us pray. Most gracious and wise God, we first come to tell you thank you. Thank you for this day, God, that so many people woke up this morning but never made it. God, thank you for always being with our youth. Help them to become better and want to do better every day that they wake up. Never wake up mediocre. God, we ask you to bless all of the young people that are virtually learning. God, all of the young people that are learning and going to schools. Cover them with your grace. Cover them with your mercy. God, right now we are at a state of emergency in the world with an election on our heels. God, we know that whoever is elected, that you will still be in control. So we ask you, God, to calm the peacefulness in this world as so many try to disrupt it as this election is happening, but we know that you are still in control. We ask you, dear God, to bless every household that's represented here. Bless our leadership, God, that as they come in the doors of National Action Network, they would never leave the same. They would leave out wanting to do better and be better. We ask you to bless those that are on their way here tonight. Bless the food, God, for those hands. God, bless those that do not even have food and appetite. And bless those, God, that have food and no appetite. Continue to pray over them and thank you for them, God, for this food that's going to be served today. Continue to touch our young people, for they need you, God, like never before. This world needs you, God, like never before. For this we ask, in nothing but the matchless name of God. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sister Patrice. Thank you. All right, so next, for our action alerts, I'm gonna call up our National Membership Director, Ms. Dominique Sharpton-Bright. Please give her a round of applause. I don't want y'all to keep clapping, I don't see it. All right, so say y'all have to. So we'll skip it for now and then move on to the next one.
Okay, so we'll skip that for now. Next up, we have our Black History Fact of the Day, presented by Youth Rep in Training, Ocean.
Good evening, Huddle fam. So, wait, can you guys hear me? Okay. Benjamin Banneker, inventor and scientist, dies October 26, 1806 at the age of 74. In 1753, he borrowed a pocket watch from a well-to-do neighbor and took it apart and made a drawing of each component, then reassembled the watch and returned it fully functioning to his owner. From his drawings, Banneker then proceeded to carve out wood in large replicas of each part, calculating the proper number of teeth for each gear, and the necessary relationships between the gears. He constructed a working wooden clock that kept accurate time and stuck to the hours for over 50 years. At age 58, excuse me, Banneker began the study of astronomy and was soon predicting the future solar and lunar eclipses. For annual almanacs that were established for the years of 1792 through 1779. 90, sorry. In 1791, Banneker was the first technical assistant in the calculating of the first ever surveying of the federal district, which is now in Washington, D.C.
Thank you. So, next we have our NANU section, and coming up to the stage we have our committee head of arts and culture, Brother Arnold Penix.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Now! Bump fist the person next and tell them you love them. And you get that that works Saturday morning rally. How many know what passion is? How many know what passion is? Raise your hand if you know what passion. Come on, raise your hand. Now, Reverend Sharpton gives a rally every Saturday, and I would say he gives it with passion. Would you agree? Yeah. I can't hear you. Yeah. Okay, so before we go into it, as you know, you're visited by each of the transit triplets each week, and today is Reverend Alvin Johnson, who's a good friend of Reverend Al Sharpton, and he has something called Amen, go right there. When I say amen, you say go right there. Amen? Go right there. Amen? Go right there. Amen? Go right there. Amen? Go right there. Getting into character. Oh, we're going to call out, so each person who has something passionate they want to say, you have a voice. When you vote, you have a voice. So today I want you to say, my name is such and such, and I'm passionate about, and you tell us what you're passionate about, and I'll say amen, and everyone else will say, go right there. So it's all about passion and what you believe in. We at the National Action Network believe in our agenda, and our agenda is equal rights for all, human rights for all. So we want to see you, our young man youth huddlers, have passion in what you do. So raise your hands who want to do it. I ain't going to be coming around to everybody. We don't have that much time. Who wants to be passionate today? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Stand up, stand up, stand up. I need another passion practice. Stand up, get ready. And we're going to call it out. We're going to call it out, and there's a camera, the game show is called Amen, go right there. When I on the count of three, we're going to all start applauding. You're the studio audience, okay? You're the studio audience. Okay, on the count of three, okay, you go to hype man, go out there, hype man. Okay, all right, podium, at the podium, okay. Can't see me. So we're going to start it right now. Okay, on the count of three, we're going to count it out. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Applause, applause, applause. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Amen. Go right there. I said Amen. Go right there. Now, we're going to be talking to our passionate people, so you have a voice. So when I come to you, you're going to tell me, come on up here, soldier. And so my name, I'm a good friend of Reverend Sharp. My name is Reverend Alvin Johnson. And welcome to Amen. Go right there. Coined by our definite elder. She ain't here now. She always sitting at the rally. Amen. Go right there. So, what you passionate about?
State your name. My name is Ahmed, and I'm passionate about black unity.
That's right. Amen. Okay, well, come on up here, soldier. Come on up here. What's your passion? What's your name and what you're passionate about?
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Ty, and I'm passionate about breaking generational curses.
Amen. Who else is passionate about anything? Anybody else passionate? Well, that's all the time we have right now. Reverend Alvin Johnson, and you are listening to Amen. Give a big round of applause. Thank you. That's our report.
Thank you, Brother Arnold. Thank thank you so much for that detailed and fun activity. Next, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is present our Huddle report. Presented by our Youth Huddle advisors, Mr. Chris and Felipe Dosa. Give them a round of applause.
So Saturday we had a college fair with the AKAs. It went very well. We had a lot of HBCUs. We had Morehouse, Howard. I mean, the list goes on. And I just want to appreciate the AKAs for having this event with us. We'll hopefully do it again next year. And if there's no COVID, we'll be able to do it in a larger space and in person. Because remember, HBCUs to me are the best. I go to Morehouse and I love every experience.
Okay, and speaking on, we mentioned Carlos Lopez earlier tonight, and we did our prayer and our moment of silence for him. We also had some of our Huddle members attend the birthday event for him. Should I have somebody who can talk about that real quick, if they want to? Yeah, we can go for it.
So, yeah, I ain't gonna bring up the game. So this past weekend, as Patrice Perry mentioned earlier, in regards to Carlos Lopez Jr., his mother, Miss Caroline Lopez, she's a faithful NAN member who's been coming here consistently throughout the weeks. 20 years ago, he was murdered by the NYPD. He still has not received justice, so this past weekend, we celebrated his birthday. Went over past his house, spoke and met with some of the other family members, his son. We just talked a little bit, did a little celebration to make sure that, we could bring some smiles to their faces while we continue to work to make sure that they get justice for their families. It was a pretty good event, myself, Alibi, Brother William Allen, who you'll hear from later, Ocean, and some brothers from Strategies was there, Ahmed was there. It's just about community awareness. Everything isn't about a march or some sort of other protest, but sometimes you really need to be there in support for the families, during a time of need and struggle and strength, to show that love. So I'm glad that, we was able to be there to represent along with other members in the community in Brooklyn. But we have some other stuff that is coming up for the next couple of days, so we'll keep you guys posted on that. You got anything you want to add? Okay, nope. All right, so until now, for those of you who are old enough to vote, early voting is still going on in the state of New York. By show of hands, who voted already? All right, very good. Who plans on voting?
There we go.
All right. Who's not old enough to vote? All right. We're going to get y'all there. So, but, just stay active in the community. Vote, vote, vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'll let you guys make that determination. But we're going to be involved in the community. And that is our report. So, next, back to another report. I'm going to call up for our action alerts. Our National Membership Director, Ms. Dominique Sharpton-Bright. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. In addition to being the National Director of Membership, I'm also the co-chair for NAN's Youth Huddle. First of all, I want to just welcome all of those who are here for the first time. Welcome to our new huddlers. If this is your first time here tonight, we welcome you. I want y'all to just get involved, be engaged. If you have a question or an issue, this is a safe space, so don't feel hesitant to raise your hand and to be acknowledged to say something. We definitely encourage and welcome your voice and your opinions. And definitely welcome them, and I hope that you get to share tonight as we have a great huddle, as we always do. But let me tell you all about some of the action alerts we want y'all to be prepared and engaged in and aware of as it pertains to the National Action Network. Countdown to the 2020 presidential election. In less than 2 weeks, y'all, 2 weeks, the nation will select the next president of the United States of America. And I am confident that the role will change. I am confident that the role will change. Now, National Action Network, we are a nonpartisan organization. We don't endorse candidates. However, Dominique Sharpton, me as Dominique, I'm telling y'all that I hope that this man is out of office come November 3rd. We have the biggest yard sale ever that 1600 Pennsylvania has ever seen, because these people are going to be getting their furniture, their clothes, and everything up out of there. And I hope that I have a front seat to see it. But millions of Americans have already casted their ballots and their votes. Millions more will head to the polls on Tuesday, November 3rd. National Action Network encourages everyone to engage in democracy by exercising their right to vote. But we also encourage you that if you can, please vote early. Early voting has started a historic precedent in the city of New York and the state of New York. We have never seen this happen before, but early voting is now accessible to us. And we have between Saturday, it started Saturday, but we have had between Saturday and November 1st to vote early and cast our votes early. And so many, millions and millions of people have already casted their votes early. That is a great sign. That's a great sign. And none of us should take this precious freedom for granted. But if you have questions about where to vote, if you have questions about if you are registered, or if you have questions about just the process in general, we want to make sure that you don't have any issues when you're voting, and know that there are hotlines, there are numbers that you can call. You can also call right here at the House of Justice, 877-626-4651 if you have any questions or you experience any issues at the polls. But the election protection hotline, the official protection hotline, is 866-OUR-VOTE. It's very easy to remember, 866-OUR-VOTE. I believe you can also text that number and you can get information that way as well. It's not just the Supreme Court. The entire legal system has a crippling diversity problem. As Judge Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation to the Supreme Court appears all but certain, it is more urgent than ever that we recognize the underlying issues plaguing our nation's justice system are inextricably tied to the staggering lack of equitable racial representation within America's legal and judicial institutions. And that is a quote directly from our president and founder, Reverend Al Sharpton, that he wrote in an op-ed that appeared this week in USA Today. We're also encouraging everyone, pray for Nigeria. National Action Network denounces the human rights violations that are happening in Nigeria. And some of you know, if you're watching the news or if you're in tune to what's going on in the media, the world has been witnessing young Nigerians take to the streets to peacefully protest and raise their voices against police brutality. These protests have been met with violence by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and National Action Network and Reverend Sharpton call for an end to the police misconduct. Whether in New York or Nigeria, NAN has argued that police misconduct cannot and should not be tolerated and stand in solidarity with these peaceful protesters. National Action Network encourages you all, if you do not have the information that you need, if you need to get in touch with your local elected officials, if you have a crisis issue that you need National Action Network's attention, we encourage you to get involved. You can go to our website, nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call us here at 877-626-4651. I believe that is my entire report here. I may come back to you a little later with some more information, because I know y'all love to see my face. But in the meantime, I'm going to give it back over to our wonderful host for tonight, Mr. Chris, who's doing a great job, by the way. Clap him up.
All right. Next, we have our membership and text alerts by Youth Rep in Training, Lamine Cole.
Hello. Is everybody an updated member for the year of 2020? If not, have you renewed your membership? If not, this applies to you as well as those who are not members. The best way to stay informed and stand in action is to become a member of NAN. Stay informed by NAN event close to where you live. Text addresses followed by your state to 59769. I repeat, if you would like to stay informed about NAN events close to where you live, text addresses followed by your state to to 59769. And also on Saturdays, we have rallies here that starts at 9 a.m. And if you would like to come, you're more than welcome to come. And I pass it out to Ahmed.
All right, thank you so much, brother, for that membership action. So also Saturdays, Reverend Al Sharpton is actually physically here, giving his action rally. So you have the chance to do that, and we do crisis intake toward the end. Next part, the best part of the day. So you guys actually get the opportunity to come up on stage and share your good news. Anything that's happened to you guys in your life, whether that's an A on the test, whether you won the lottery, you got some scratch-off tickets, you voted for the first time, anything that's good news. We have a pretty good crowd, so you guys come up and share. Try not to be long-winded. I like to, keep it moving. All right, let's hear it.
My name is Ahmed. I love computer science, and recently I got to participate in my first coding tournament, and that was really, really fun. Along with the coding tournament, I also got to participate in a side event, Super Smash Bros. Tournament, a game I'm really invested into, and I got second place, so yeah.
Hello, Huddle fam. So, as you guys know that my platform is creativity, right? So I'm pleased to announce that I will be working with other musical artists, and hopefully soon I will be releasing more music. So keep in touch. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. This just recently happened last night. I was honored by my congressman as well as my New York State Assemblywoman. A lot of the times, youth activists like us do not get any of the credit that we deserve. I feel like we have been consistently marginalized, put down, and still we are breaking barriers and taking down doors and just letting it be known that where there is a will, there is a way. So I just want to send a message to each and everybody that is young out here to keep doing you and just to keep making sure that your voice matters and nobody silences you. Thank you.
Hi, for those who don't know me, my name is Isabel. I had the opportunity to volunteer as a poll watcher for the Democratic Party in Long Island. I was actually volunteering in Nassau. And I also got recognized for a protest that I organized at my school that was called Show Up for Black Women. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. All right, so tomorrow would be my father's 102nd birthday. So, I definitely appreciate, having a father in my life, and, having a father in life is important. And also, this Thursday, the 29th, would be 8 years since I was almost killed by the NYPD. So I'm a survivor. So I'm a survivor of police brutality. So the 29th would be 8 years since I survived it. Thank you.
Hi, I have somewhat good news, but we have an overwhelming response tonight to Huddle, so we just want to make sure that our young people that are coming in, the new people that have never been here before, can join us in our circle. Adults, if you can please give some of your seats up so some of the young people can sit a little closer and move further back. That would be great. We love you and appreciate you for being here to support us. But we want to definitely give the attention to our young people tonight. Thank you so much.
More good news? More good news? All right. So next we are going to go into our Did You Know segments. We have two tonight. Our first Did You Know is done by Huddle Rep Felicitos. Let's get it.
Y'all got me running around. I cannot believe we're talking about 6ix9ine tonight. All right. Birds of a Feather or Misery Love Company. Rapper 6ix9ine is finding himself to be a fan of fellow Megan Thee Stallion. Tekashi, or Daniel Hernandez, was indicted on charges relating to his involvement with 9 Trey. Facing a 37-year sentence, Hernandez cooperated with the prosecution, effecting an assist in the conviction of associated members of his gang. He received a reduced sentence of 2 years in turn and was released much earlier due to concerns relating to coronavirus and his asthma. In light of this turn of events, much of the hip-hop community and media turned against him. They said he basically violated the most fundamental code of the streets: don't snitch. One of his biggest haters, Snoop Dogg, who really isn't a fan, posted on Instagram, "As we watch Tekashi 6ix9ine, or whatever his name is, snitch on everyone, I invite you all to remember Martha Stewart snitched on not one soul during her trial. Baby girl kept it 10 toes down and ate that prison sentence by herself, like the baddie that she is." And I don't know if y'all can see, but this is the little post that he made. Now that Megan has clearly implicated that Tory Lanez in shooting her foot, Tekashi posted a video of himself bobbing and knobbing along to Megan Thee Stallion, "Girls in the Hood," captioning, "Megan, my favorite rapper." And then this is the little... I'm sorry, it's just like, why are we still talking about this man in 2020? So basically, my question today is, when is snitching allowed? So come up. Don't make it too long, short, but youth. Yeah, I got like 5 minutes to think.
Hey y'all, so
All right, listen. Guys.
So I'm gonna start it off, and I'm just keep in mind that, you know, snitching, the whole snitch culture is very controversial in our culture, so just keep that in mind. But not to bash anybody or anything, but in my opinion, snitching, if you see something going down and it's bad, then, you know, say something. Like, don't keep it in. Say like you guys all know the term, if you see something, say something. That's the New York code in the city. So if you see something going down, say it. Don't keep it to yourself. Like, come on. That's not right.
Anyone else? Youth.
Okay, so I'm gonna be the one person to go against that, because I grew up in a hood where you kind of saw people getting, you know, stabbed, shot, robbed, whatever, and it was your job to kind of stay quiet, especially if you knew the people who was doing the things. Oh, you had to shut up, because if you didn't, something was gonna happen to you, your family, somebody you knew. So at the end of the day, it's not okay to snitch ever. Because at the end of the day, you're not putting yourself at risk. You're putting your family, you're putting your friends, you're putting those who associate with you at risk. So I'm not saying don't snitch. I'm not saying, oh, snitching is not something that's leveraged. Like, you have to think about the bigger picture. If you snitch, what happens to not only you, but those around you? I've seen people snitching and their house get shot up the next day and their mother in the hospital. So snitching is not always the first thing. Guaranteed he did it to himself so that he could get out of his situation, but he has a daughter. His daughter has to live with a target on her back now, and he didn't think about that. He thought about lowering his sentence.
So me, I'm kind of in the middle. I feel like with Tekashi 6ix9ine, my problem is always when you set the precedent. I feel like when you have a set of values, you should be able to stick to it. My problem with Tekashi, and when I feel like it's not okay to snitch, is when you set the precedent that you are not going to snitch, when you start the problems, when you are, you know, sort of causing the turmoil. You shouldn't snitch because you're partly responsible for what you're snitching for. So just like everyone else is responsible, you should remain responsible. However, that being said, if you're not a part of the streets, if you didn't cause any problem, there's no reason to sort of withhold information. At the end of the day, you're defending yourself. Megan is dying, sort of talking about Tory Lanez as the shooter. If it is true, she's protecting a black woman and she's protecting other black women.
All right, last two. Keep it going.
All right, I feel like we spoke about this recently, but I'm gonna try to simplify this as much as possible. Okay, so when we young, all right, by a show of hands, when you was younger, who in your family, whether it's your mother or your legal guardian, told you as a kid, don't be a tattletale? Forget about the word snitching for a minute. Just as a kid, just said, don't be a tattletale. All right, cool. You can put your hands down. So, as kids, it's already instilled in us not to chat, right? Now let's fast forward to the ages that we are now. For the most part, by a show of hands, how many people grow up in the neighborhood that's the hood, the block, where things take place? Cool. All right. So we all on the same page. Now with Tekashi, here's the thing about, I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a minute because I want to be real about the situation. Tekashi got down with known criminals, known gang members that are really into those things. And being a rapper, he had a plan and an idea that he came to Shotty with, and he said, yo, we can make money, we're gonna be rich. He knew these guys were gangsters, he knew they were thugs, he knew how they gave it up out in Brooklyn. He chose to be in that because you need muscle, you need people to have your back for what he was trying to do. Yeah. Now, when you choose a life of crime, whether you're a drug dealer, a scammer, busting checks, whatever it is that you do, if you choose a life of crime, you have to go with what the rules apply to that life of crime. Rule number 1, no snitching. And I'm just talking about people who choose to partake in criminal activity. I don't care if they throw football numbers at you. You in that interrogation room, you facing 90. As a criminal, you chose a life of crime, you can't snitch. You gotta take that time and do that time on your head. That's just the ideology of the streets. That's all I'm saying. I'm not glorifying it or anything. And a person in Tekashi's position, he keeps always going live and talking about how they slept with his baby moms, they kidnapped him, they tried to kill him, they stole millions from him. Now, in the mind of the average person, those are enough reasons to snitch. But see, for Tekashi, he chose to be a criminal. He chose to be a blood. He chose to be a gang member. He's on camera ordering a $30,000 hit on Chief Keef. I mean, not Chief Keef. Well, I forgot what Chicago rapper was. He's ordering a hit. He said a 30 clip. That means money.
That was Sosa.
Right, or it was Sosa, all right? So he's into it. Now he's in a life of crime. Now, a person that's a criminal, instead of going to law enforcement and snitching, if somebody was to do you wrong, instead of telling the police, there's other ways you can handle that person. You're not supposed to snitch. I'm just talking from the criminal perspective. Now, that's done. Now I'm talking to people who work 9 to 5s, kids who go to school, and just know people who do criminal things. But you yourself don't partake in any criminal activity. You ain't gang, you're not Mac Baller, you're not G-Stone, you're not a Woo, you're not a Cho, you ain't none of that. You're just a regular everyday kid. So, let me just wrap it up. So, basically what I'm saying is, you don't have to abide by the rules. I know it's hard for a lot of you youngins because y'all live in a neighborhood where y'all can't do that. It's not that easy. If you see something, say something, because you may not be able to come back home. Your mother may not be able to take her groceries upstairs without being harassed. So the decision is really up to you. To if you see something, say something or not. But just know, you do not have to follow the rules of something of a life that you never chose to be in. But it's really up to you. So it's really like a fork in the road, but the decision is yours.
I see that we got a large, beautiful group of young people, so I'm gonna make this short. And first of all, ignorance is not bliss. I went with young people for over 40 years in the hood. I told them put neighbor back on hood. Number one, put neighbor back on hood. The second thing is, You couldn't come in my neighborhood from Harlem to Far Rockaway to Lower East Side out to Brownsville and touch nobody that I love. I'm church. We church. We from the original hood. We ain't scared of nobody. We out Charlotte. I'm a baby boomer. We dropped the ball on every one of y'all, and I apologize to this day for it. Because y'all should have known. First of all, snitching ain't got nothing to do with the hood. Snitching came from criminals. In Chicago, y'all need to watch Untouchables. Because that was only for criminals not to snitch on each other. Ain't got nothing to do with you coming up in somebody's neighborhood and you gonna shoot up and beat up your own people. Your brother, your sister, your mother, your aunt, they can't walk the street, they can't go up the block, they can't go to the store. Ass whipping time. You understand? I come from a neighborhood where grown people protected young people. Right. So if I had to run to an aunt, uncle, or whatever because I seen something and I was gonna say something, tattletale, big mouth, whatever, I'm 63. Hello? Hello. 63 years old, old ass senior citizen. I'm trying to get to a past 3. Ain't nobody gonna come up in nobody's hood and shoot up nobody's baby where we live. We took control of our communities. You understand? Crack and everything. And ain't nobody asked you to be perfect. Ain't nobody asked you to go out there and snitch on people. Because I got brothers that have been in big house, that are ministers of the gospel today. They ain't never been scared. When you were scared in the jail, all you had to do was go to the Muslims and to the Christians. And honey, they were protecting you. So right now, all that snitching, and you ain't gonna see something and say something, and protect the lives of babies and kids. First of all, how they get a gun, they ain't got a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. So all that money and stuff, what I'm saying to y'all right now, we put our lives on the line for all of y'all. I had gang members come to me, and when we gave them love and protection, we gave them Jesus, they went on to live long, and that's what I'm looking for each and every one of y'all. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Hi. Can you hear me okay with this thing on? I'm so sad about the Rona. Okay, sorry. So, in regards to Mo, wherever he's at, I concur with a whole lot, and I was going to sit down because he touched on a lot of things. But the one thing is like when I grew up, if a man touched a little girl or anything like that, I don't know what hood y'all are from, but that's time to snitch. When it comes to these types of behaviors and stuff, these things are pretty bad. So when it comes to that, we were told from little, you know, do not let anybody do those types of things to you, etc. So that's one. But for 2, in regards to everything going on right now in our world, we have a lot of issues, and I'm just tired. So for you young people that get to be a part of these programs and are in social justice, and anybody that's watching, you know, on social justice land or whatever, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, don't even get involved. Like, honestly, I feel like you will live a lot longer if you just stay in school or work with people like Reverend Al Sharpton and all those other great people that are doing great work. That's my little case. Thank you.
Lastly, David.
Hey, how many of y'all heard of Al Pacino? Raise your hands. All right, so Al Pacino years ago, he filmed a movie called Serpico. Now, Serpico is a movie based on real life of a New York police officer named John Serpico. He addressed and he snitched on his officers, and they tried to kill him. So it became a big case years ago in New York City in reference to, you know, police corruption and police misconduct. So I just wanted to talk about John Serpico. So if you have time, you know, go on Netflix or whatever and check out Serpico, and you can see. And it's important to it was a real important case because it showed about the misconduct and the corruption of NYPD. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, for finishing it all. So, yeah, y'all go next.
I'll let you go. We gotta make it quick.
Good evening. First of all, I wanted to say that there's a difference between snitching and telling. They're not the same thing. You know, snitch, I don't like snitches. Nobody likes snitches. The person you snitching to don't like you. You know, the thing is that when you snitching, that means you was down with it. And then you decided to tell after it got hot for you. Nobody likes that. If we in it, then we in it. If you're a school teacher and somebody do something to you going down the street and you tell, you're not a snitch. You tell it because you're a victim. You had nothing to do with what was taking place. Somebody robbed the school teacher, that teacher should tell. Somebody robbed the nurse or the mother coming home from work, they rob her or they try to do something to her, she should tell. You see something happening to a young lady or someone in your neighborhood, you should tell. You and one of your friends go and rob somebody together and you get caught, then that's snitching. If you and your partner, you know, you're doing something together, you say we down, and then you tell, now you a snitch. A tattletale, I'm running late for work, and I clocked in a little lady and told him, it had nothing to do with you, a tattletale, leave me alone, mind your business. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, though, that there's a difference. We protect our communities when we do take a stand for things that go wrong. When we subject ourselves to the laws of the criminals, then we are co-signing the governing of the criminal over our communities. By us doing this, we say that that's not allowed here, we're not standing for it, and we take our communities back when we stand up for what is right and speak out by using your voice against it. We're not allowed to put you in a predicament to where you live in fear of saying, I'm not going to stand up because this might happen or that might happen. Take a stand. You have a voice. There's a difference between snitching and telling. Thank you, brother.
All right. This concludes our first Did You Know segment. Before we get into our next one, I do want to remind you guys that we are on schedule. If you come up, please try and make it brief, try and make it concise. Everybody does want to talk, so we're going to try and keep it short and sweet so that everybody can get a chance to talk. Our second Did You Know segment is done by our social media director, Ahmed, and it is on Black women and protecting Black women.
Alright, so during the summer, news broke of rappers Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion were driving in the same car when an argument resulted in Meg allegedly suffering multiple gunshot wounds. The events from the night were confusing to the public at first. No one fully understood what exactly happened. Eventually, Meg named Tory Lanez as the alleged shooter. Even with the evidence of an eyewitness account, Megan faced the lack of support and disbelief of her story from Black women. Some even went so far as to call her a snitch, while others thought she made the whole thing up, seeking attention. Megan eventually took to social media to defend her actions to critics and made a powerful statement about protecting Black women in a recent SNL performance. And the question that I think that I'm always thinking about when these kinds of events happen, whether or not you think Megan lied or Tory's guilty of shooting her, is why is there such an urgency for people to proclaim a conclusion without sufficient evidence? So, you asked the question again? Why is there such an urgency to proclaim a conclusion without sufficient evidence? Yeah, why do people come to conclusions without knowing the full story?
All right, so I'm gonna start this off. So, lots of times people want to jump to conclusions because they just want to get to the point instead of listening to the long story. So, a lot of times they would jump to conclusions, but on a real note, for y'all, my advice to you guys: don't jump to conclusions without learning simple facts first. Because when you assume, you just make yourself look ignorant. Like, to be honest, like, know the facts before jumping to conclusion. Thank you.
Okay, hi, God bless you all. This is a situation that involves celebrities. So it's a different criteria that a lot of fans take on when it comes to taking looks at incidences that are pertaining to celebrities. So it could be as shallow as some people like the man that's part of the issue, and some like the woman that's part of the issue. But again, I remember seeing on television, I guess it was from a street camera, where they showed Megan Thee Stallion along the sidewalk barefoot. And each step she took left a bloodstain. So allegations such as this obviously require a criminal process. And that's where all evidences should be exposed, which will never be known to a fan. You know, so their opinions really don't count. But due process is an issue that is a very important concern of mine. And if this has been an issue that is brought to court, I pray that whomever decides to make a judgment over the evidence really does their best to decipher what the evidence is and what the evidence actually approves, and gives whomever is required to receive this justice, that they do receive it. But I'm really thankful to God in general that Megan Thee Stallion is back in business. I don't know too much about what the young man is doing. And the only reason I know about Megan Thee Stallion because I look at television occasionally. I know she was on Saturday Night Live, and she's now taking a platform as a result of what happened with her. So she's using it to her advantage in a more public, civilized way. I pray that the young man, whoever these allegations are against, I remember seeing one of his videos, but I don't know much about him, but I pray that he decides to do what he needs to do to make himself a better person, as well as Megan Thee Stallion doing what she's doing to make herself a better person. But in all, us being people who are very interested in these people, because personally I am, because they seem to be like neighborhood people as far as I'm concerned. I'm not up on all the news and musically, but I just support their efforts. And I really hope that they use their entertainment platform to become more involved in receiving justice for all. Thank you.
Greetings, Huddle, and everybody else that's here as guests. My name is Tim. I apologize for my tardiness. We come all the way from Brownsville, so it's kind of deep. Not everywhere you go, you say Brownsville, people start clapping. You know, people start running the opposite direction. But you know, I'm really glad that we get some love from the neighborhood. We talked about a couple topics. They talked about snitching. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get up and talk about that. I was like, ooh, it's a touchy topic. But this one, I feel like it's something that I could really hone in on, because I think the problem here is more about the toxic social media culture that we have, rather than the actual situation. Because the situation itself is crazy, but I don't think like anyone, as the sister that got up here just said, I don't think anybody was in that car for us to be like, oh snap, like Tory had shot Meg and this, that, and a lot of people are saying what they heard, and I think honestly speaking, like when Meg says like, hey listen, this is what happened, I think we should normalize believing black women more often, especially when it comes down to these things. And I feel like a lot of people that was putting their 2 cents in weren't even, like, they don't have a right to put their 2 cents in. And just because you have a tweet that goes viral on Twitter does not mean that that's the truth. So I think that it's important that like a lot of people that like want to just like put their 2 cents in because the topic is hot, they need to sometimes keep those Twitter fingers to themselves and just like, focus on themselves, because that like those 150 characters that they putting in isn't doing nothing but making the problem worse. So I think at the end of the day, people just need to mind their damn business, and that's all.
He pretty much put the nail in the coffin with that. Brownsville came to rep. But basically, what he said is like, with Meg and Tory, like, what I see more than anything is that it divided black women against black men. Because if you go in the comments, you see black men like, yo, why, we gotta believe her because she a black queen. There's really men in the comments saying that. And then you got women in the comments like, I don't understand how men are not protecting us black queens. He shot her in the foot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, if you want to see how crazy and messed up the world is, all you gotta do is go into the shade room comments, or these comments, these people are sick in the head, and their lives are so boring, they have nothing going on, that a celebrity's life is everything to them. So even if they don't know the truth, they're gonna be like, you know what, let me just paint this in my head and go by what TMZ said. Like, this man just got charged. This woman is back, like Ms. Word said, this woman is back performing, moving around. You got stories of she getting shot, but it hit no bone in there, hit no tissue or nothing. Everybody's like coming up with all these stories, and it's just dividing black men and black women more. In the climate that we dealing with, we're having to go against the police and all these races and stuff. Now we're going at each other over something that does matter, because a black woman was shot allegedly by a black man, but we're arguing about the wrong things. We're really on the internet judging women going at men. Like, it just looked bad for black people as a whole. We shouldn't be debating about that stuff right now. Let the law take care of that. We need to push the agenda of Breonna Taylor. That's why I respect the people in the comments and be like, Megan and Tory is cool, but justice for Breonna Taylor. I love seeing stuff like that, to shut all of that down. So for the people in here, like the youth, I think y'all need to set a precedence, because there's a lot of kids in those comments too that follow the lead of those older people that are childish in the comments and just be talking about stuff that they know nothing about. They don't know the celebrity. They don't even know the makeup artist, the security. They have no ties to the person. They just go with what Shade Room and Hollywood Unlocked and all them saying they know nothing. So don't fall into their narrative. Let's focus on what we need to get going and leave that to that world. That's all.
Anyone else want to speak on why the assumption? Why is everyone so quick to assume? Thank you.
All right, Ahmed, thank you. When I saw that topic, I thought it was gonna be a riot in here. It's all good. So, that concludes our Did You Know segment for tonight. Well, our 2 Did You Know segments for our Huddle veterans in here. Traditionally, we have 3, but this third or closing segment, we actually have a little presentation for you guys, or a special guest. So it is an election year, and we are in the election season, but I'm gonna call an audible. So I was going to introduce this person, but I'm going to call up the Morehouse man over here, Mr. Felipe. Why don't you come on up and do the honors for me?
So this man is like a mentor, uncle to me. He's a Sigma. He is, to me, Harlem. Really family to me. He has taught me a lot in just a couple of months that I've known him. I appreciate him so much. I wouldn't be at Morehouse if it wasn't because of him. He helped me find a full ride scholarship to Morehouse. Until this day, I constantly keep getting phone calls about scholarships and opportunities, just because that's how he works. He knows everyone. He's very well connected. So I want to introduce the Honorable William Allen.
I'm about to cry here, boy.
Y'all gonna make me cry.
You know, yeah, I'm crying.
Yes, bro. What do we do with the power that is given to us? We can either use it to make our own selves wealthy, or we can use it to free other folks. I've been really blessed. I was a kid that came from 40th Street, and it's between 7th and 8th Avenues, Powell and Douglas Boulevard, 210. And, oh my God. Yes, sir. I'm standing here not only just thinking about believing, but I'm just thinking about all the young men and women who didn't get to see the age of 18. And wow, oof, please forgive me. I'm standing here really thinking about my twin brother. And I just want to start off with him because my work has really been in response to his murder. And one day on the block, and he was such a leader, and he was talking to the other kids and saying, you know, they wanted to become drug pushers. And he gathered them, and they were about to walk off, and I ran behind him, actually kind of to protect him, and he turned around and said, "This is not a journey for you." That was the last time I saw my brother. He was shot in the head, standing on the corner of 142nd Street and Adam Lee Powell. The bullet was not meant for him, but he chose to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was a natural-born comedian. You know, he liked to joke around, and so that particular moment, his friends were there, about 8 of them, who all wanted to become wealthy, and they were joking around, and he found them jumping to the ground, thinking that they were laughing at his jokes, not realizing that the group saw guns coming up the block, and because he was moderating his panel, he could not see, and then he was shot. When he told me not to follow him, I ended up going up to the Democratic Club, 135th Street at Adam Powell, and spent time with the councilman, Fred Samuel at that time, and Lois Banks and Jimmy Banks, my mentors. And all of a sudden, Mrs. Banks picked up the phone in the club and said, "Your family needs you to come straight home." Why? Just come straight home. What happened? I thought maybe something happened to my grandmother or my mom or somebody like that, so I get home. And my grandmother said that your mother's at the hospital. And you need to go meet her there. And so it was Harlem Hospital. And my brother laid in a room unconscious. Why do I tell this story? Because when you think about politics and one-on-one, you really have to think about where you start from and why you do what you do and what you claim is who you are and the power that you possess. And often as young people, we just don't understand how much power we got. I mean, you got a lot of power. And I've been blessed to do a lot of things when I was your age and younger. You know, I found myself as a young teenager being appointed the first teenager to a community board in the history of the city. Right? On 140th Street, right? In a tenement building. And I found myself the youngest person appointed as a trustee of a school district before I turned 21. Right? So don't tell me what is not possible. Just like he was told one day that because of coronavirus, that he was not going to get a scholarship to leave Harlem to go to Morehouse. And I had just met him. We were at a dinner for 100 black men, and he wanted to take a picture with Senator Chuck Schumer, and he came over to me and said, "Would I help him?" So we took a picture together. I gave him my NAN business card, and he called me a week later saying, "I need your help. You said that you would help, so I'm calling you for help." I said, "Okay, what's going on? You know, what happened?" He said, "They told me that I no longer had a scholarship." I was like, "What? You know, who told you?" And so we began to come up with a strategy of how to address that particular crisis in his life. And so we put together a long list of folks to contact, including key members, 100 black men, the organization I belong to. And we established not only the scholarship they initially offered him, but a lot more. So that's his power. So what did he do with someone that gave something back to him? He chose to be involved with you guys. He didn't grow up in Huddle, but he came here because he recognized that was something special here. If that he can be helped, he knew that other young people like themselves could be helped too. And that's why you're here tonight. So give it up for yourself. Give it up for yourself. So the lesson in all this stuff, and I'm going to go into the political lessons, is you got to choose to be in the place by which you can claim your power and demonstrate your power. That's the way it happens. You got to come and do the work. You can't just be talking about it, you got to be about it. Just come and do the work. And so the school board, the community board, let me tell you, as a young person, I had exhausted myself and being of service in this community. I mean, to the point where I said, what are you doing? You said, you're going to another meeting? And I was just a kid. I would put on the suit and tie. My mom said, where you going tonight? I said, I got to go to a PTA meeting. She said, but you're not a parent? I said, but I'm the president of the school board. Can you imagine? You're 18 years old and you're a boss. Not a rap label. You're the boss of a school district. Amen. And you got 27 principals that report to you. So that's so when you say, well, young people got to wait to the future to be leaders, that's some crap. You are leaders today. You are leaders today. You know, Jesus left here, he was 33 years old, he was young. Dr. King, when he led that boycott down in Montgomery, Alabama, he was 24 years old, or mid-20s. So he wasn't 40, he wasn't 50, he wasn't 60, he was just like you.
That's right.
And he was educated. Right? He finished, what, college at Morehouse at what, 19? Right. Dr. King, 19 years old. Does it mean that he was just a genius? No, it means he was focused. Just get focused. That's the genius part of life. Once you get focused and you figure out the path that you want to be on, you can achieve anything because other folks around you will see your focus. They will be energized by you. They will be truly energized by you. And so, I know the biggest secret to what it takes to be a young, successful person into a successful adult. I know the secret, and I want to share it with you. Caring adults around you. Caring adults around you. They're your wisdom. You know, and I think of Reverend Sharpton when I was a kid, and he doesn't remember, but I had a meeting with him when I was a youth leader. I told these guys about it, and the meeting was set up by another mentor of mine, Jose Farrar, who was vice president of the New York Urban Coalition. At that time, I was president of the school board, on the community board, and I thought I was like it. And he set up this meeting with Reverend Sharpton, say, you guys go to work together. So I was like, well, where's your office? And boom, 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 boom. I remember it was like, and he said, well, where's your office? I said, mine is on 44th Street and Broadway, on the 42nd floor. And we had a corner office. Young people, and it was 60 of us, 60 kids from all around the city, student government presidents, youth council presidents, chairs of youth council at our churches and the communities. It was 60 of us, and we knew that we had power, and we used it. And I shared that with Reverend Sharpton that day. And I think of that experience, I think of Menacing. There's some of my fraternity brothers in the house. Order the Feather. Stand up, Featherman. Where's the Featherman? Stand up. Come on, let me know that my frat brothers are here. Yeah? Menacing has a long legacy of training young people to be leaders, right? Historically, leaders come out of that place, right? Order the Feather and Tapawingo Honor Society and Phoenix Sorority. I mean, that's our background. And so, what does that all have to do with politics? It has a lot to do when you understand what power is. Power is politics. And some people say, oh, I don't get involved in politics. Well, when you say that, that means you're giving your power to somebody else. Amen. When you choose not to vote, not to be involved, you're basically telling somebody, manage me, rule me, abuse me. And that's the truth. That's really the truth. Does it take a lot to get elected? Probably some work. Is it possible for young people to be elected? Yes. Yes, it's possible. You don't have to wait for them and they to do anything for you. You don't have to wait. I wrote down some quotes I want to share.
National crisis leader. Always getting calls.
Yep, always getting calls. That was Miss Sweeney from Espinard Gardens. I wrote down some quotes, and I want to share this with you. Where did I put it at? Oh, I wrote one of the quotes I wrote because this is really what's going on lately. And I said, I love rallies, I love marching, I love protesting, but don't get me wrong, I'm ready to move chairs at City Hall and shake Albany. Right? So the question is, after the rally you leave, and after the march and protest, what do you do with that energy to make it really achieve the things that you're trying to achieve, right? So for example, you'll say like, back in the 80s or 90s, it was fight the power, right? But if you are the power, what power are you fighting, right? So if you're fighting the power, if that's a strategy, there are some flaws in that strategy, right? Because the assumption is in that particular strategy, you don't have power. But you do. You do, right? So when you think of the police department in the city of New York, and you took the opportunity to read the US Constitution, you took the time to read the state constitution, you took the time to read the New York City Charter, and you said, oh wow, the police department is overseen by not just the mayor, it's the city council. So how come I never asked my city council person to deal with the police department? Look through your newspapers. You never hear any mention of their accountability to that department. We always say, oh, we hate the police, but hold it. Well, who hires them? Who appoints them? You see what I'm saying? So if you're gonna fight, but you gotta like organize your thoughts in such a way so you can have a real impact in terms of changing institutions. And that's what politics does. When you really understand the mechanism of politics, then you can do great things. For example, a lot of people, that's what she told me to stand at the podium because of the taping, so I don't want to move. I normally move around when I'm in my classrooms. I normally don't stay at the podium. Judges in New York City are elected. Did you guys know that? Yeah. Right? They're elected. But how do they get elected? Does anybody know how they get elected?
Judges?
Is it not like county committee after like...
Who is that?
The Democratic...
Is that Tim? Tim knows. Tim, who's sitting here, is... You're no longer the chair, right? Are you still the chair?
No, actually they had the last board meeting today, so...
This young man here, Tim, is the immediate past chairman of the City University of New York Student Senate, 27. Stand up, Tim. Stand up. Stand up, Tim. That's Tim. Tim got power. Tim got power, and because he was the chairman of the University Student Senate, that means he served on the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York. That means that he was the boss of the Chancellor of the City of New York. Wow. But young people gave him that seat. He was elected by his peers. That's power, right? 27 campuses, right? 27. He also understood how judges are elected. County, committee, and district leaders. So when you walk past a district leader and just assume that you don't even interview them, you're missing an opportunity. As a district leader, which I am too here in Harlem, I've been a district leader since 1999, 21 years. I have elected now to date 67 judges.
Wow.
Supreme Court, Civil Court, right? They either keep you in your home or they evict you. They either give you probation or they put you in a cage. You'll see more judges as politicians in this community than you'll see real politicians. But yet we never confront the judges. We never understand the process, right? So that's another thing that you learned today in your lesson, that if you really want to impact the law enforcement, the judicial system, now that you know that judges are elected, you got to figure out how to have a real impact, and it's not that difficult. It's not. In fact, the last judge I got a chance to help elect from this district, which is Central Harlem. She also comes out of Menacing. And that's Janine Johnson. And she's now the youngest judge in the state of New York. Right? She's Menacing kid, Harlem kid, right? She was chief of staff of Keith Wright. You know, what's the judge out of Canaan Baptist Church? Her name escaped me for a second.
Tanya Kennedy.
Tanya Kennedy is another person I helped to make a judge, right? She's from Harlem. So you understand the process? You don't have to keep saying them and they and what they're doing to us. You have a roadmap by which you can bring about the change yourself. But if you advocate not voting, not participating, not being in the right room, in the right place at the right time, you're forsaking your power. And guess what? There's many people in power that don't want you to know that you got power.
Yeah.
They don't want you to know you got power. And sometimes when we say, oh, well, we don't vote, oh, forget that, the voting will do nothing to help us. People, let me tell you, the conservatives and the people in power, they want you to believe that voting is not important.
That's right.
Think about it. I've never heard a rich person tell me that voting was not important. I've never heard that anybody that control abundance of resources say, oh, you know what, I don't have to vote. That is not true. If you think of all the wealthy corporations in America, they spend hundreds and millions of dollars on lobbyists to make sure that their business is protected. So they'll walk around saying, I don't vote and I'm not going to participate. You got to know that. You guys go to public schools or historically black colleges, and you assume that some of these schools and these institutions happen by accident. These are all political institutions, right? If you understand the history of public education was created in America for the American Indians and former slaves. Did you know that?
Yes.
That's what started the public school system in America, right? And the father of public education in America was actually two men. Anybody know those two men there? Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. And they said that if we can train the savages to understand democracy and civilization, we will protect ourselves. So it was a social system, right? Which really didn't really mean that it was going to free us, but it certainly meant that we were going to buy into something, right? And so it's important to know that. So when you look at government, like for example, one of the things that we do in crisis, every person that calls us to get help with crisis, we go through 4 steps, right, Kalibi? Right, Trayvon? 4 steps, right? The second step is political education. We tell the person in crisis, have you met with someone from your congressional representative staff? Have you reached out to your state senator? Have you reached out to your state rep or your state assembly person? Have you reached out to your county legislator? Have you reached out to your town council or city council? Why is that important? Not so much that they're going to save you from your current crisis, but why is it important to know these people? Why? It's power, right? Imagine you get to know these people before you need them, right? The worst thing sometimes is somebody only coming to you when they need you. Right? That's a hurtful feeling, right? But imagine you build a relationship and you know, so therefore when you're in a crisis, you know who to turn to. You're able to use what we call social capital. Social capital. So I'll give you an example, right? So because of the protests and marching, it has helped to really shake up a lot. And I'm really praying hard that that energy does not stop. And I'm really hoping that that energy moves into shaping institutions and that young people in particular begin to pick up the reins and take the leadership. For example, if police are acting bad in your community, well, every police precinct has a community council. They meet every month. The commanding officer, the lieutenants, the community affairs, they're all in one room every month. You can go over all the issues with them. You can even impact their budget. You don't have to just wait to defund them. You can defund them now. Did you know that? Who chairs the Public Safety Committee in the City Council? Anybody know who the chairman of the Public Safety Committee is? Yep. Has anybody called him up? People said defund the police, but when they gonna meet with him? Right? So the lesson of political education is really a lesson in what? Power. This is a power lesson. So when we have a protest or march, it has to also equal real consistent results that we have to manage. The worst thing also to do is just to vote and not to follow up. Somebody said, oh, I voted for you 4 years ago. Well, you disappeared on me. You're the voter. Where you been? As a politician, I tell people come up to me in the street. They say, I haven't seen you since the last election. I said, I haven't seen you either. I said, where you been? And they're like, and I'm flipping on them like, huh? I said, yeah, where you been? You thought this one day that you cast a vote, that was the only day that we're going to take care of business. Nah. Right now in the New York County Democratic Party in Manhattan, there are 75 district leaders that determine judges for New York County, Manhattan. Of the 75, let me see, Robert Jackson, Al Taylor, Charlie Rangel, Keith Wright. Out of the 75, only 5 of them are black men. 5. Out of the 75, see, I can tell you, I can tell black women. Inez Dickens, Wilma Brown Phillips, Ernestine, I can't think of Ernestine's last name. Huh? Yep. 5 black women. Latinos, 3 males, 3 females. That's it. When I was at the Board of Election, I was the Manhattan chief of the Democratic Party for Manhattan, of the New York City Board of Election, staff of 150 people. On a major election day like on November the 3rd, I had on one day nearly 14,000 people working for me. 14,000. At 365 locations. Typical budget of election day. Anybody know the typical budget for election day? You know it, Tim?
No, I'll take a guess.
Go ahead, take a guess.
For election day itself?
Yeah.
For the whole city or just Manhattan?
Yes, take the whole state. You can do the whole aggregate. What do you think, how much we spend up for the whole state?
I'd probably say like maybe like 6, 7 million?
No, more than that.
15? 18.
Pushing 20 million. 20 million for one day. One day. 20 million.
Early voting is crazy.
At the Board of Election, you get people that provide equipment and machines, all this kind of stuff. And when I was down, these are the things I was fighting for. They expect me to speak up about this. I was asking who was getting the contracts. I saw all this equipment. I saw these white men walk through. I never saw a person of color with the equipment company. I said, oh, well, how do we get those contracts? I got down there, I found out that they were hiring trainers, and the majority of the trainers were white. I said, hold it. How come as a district leader, no one told me that you guys were hiring trainers? So I started to let folks know that they have jobs down there. Good jobs. And I got to tell you, that was the death of me. That was the death of me. I would come to my office, papers were moved around, you know, things were flashing in the ceiling, you know, I was being followed. I mean, it was rough. It was rough. And so I share this with you to say that if you really want the power, we really got to do this together. We got to make sure they were all in strategic locations and places. And we got to coordinate all this stuff. That's power, guys. And so we also don't have to wait for someone to give anything to us, because we have the power to give it to ourselves. And to do it with justice and fairness. Right? You got a mayor now, right? Thank goodness for a black family. I'll be straight up with you. He was elected because he had a black family. That one commercial of that son, I heard the women in my family speak. I heard them. And they were so happy, they felt that they're gonna have someone that resonate to their concerns. And he has been doing it to a large degree. Now the question is, in terms of as young people, as you look at your power, what you're gonna do the next time the guy's leaving office. You gotta read these constitutions and really figure out how you're gonna mobilize this stuff. You don't have to wait for me or Reverend Sharp. You guys, come on, you got the power already. Some of you should be running for county committee and district leaders. Start at the level by which you can truly understand the machinery of politics. Sometimes we're convinced, we live in a culture today where Generation Z, millennials, you guys don't want to own the corner store. You guys want to own a corporation. I got to tell you, we got to do both. You got to do both. You got to do both. I live on the only block in Harlem where the majority of the business is black owned. Did you know that? Come to my block, 116th Street, where Kane is located. Go to any other block in Harlem and you see who owns it. You don't own it because you don't claim your power. You're not negotiating, you're not trading. And this is not to disparage any other group. Guys, this is only a discussion about power and politics. So I'm not disparaging any group. I'm focusing on this group. You go in your pocket and you're spending your money, right? You give your money to others before you give it to your own family and friends in your own community, right? The dollar in the black community goes around how many times? Doesn't go around one time. It goes down less than half, nearly like 25 cents. And other cultural communities, like in the Chinese community, their dollar goes around 19 times. Right? And they got export businesses in everybody else's community. Chinese restaurants, and that's how I'm not disparaging any group. I'm just using this as a political business model so you can understand the concept, right? So they're every other block. They got, and you got menus and say, well, who are they trading with? And it's like, you got groups that come to America that literally look at us and say, well, are they stupid? I'm serious. We kill ourselves. But your generation can change that. You really can. Right? Nipsey Hussle tried. I know some people say, well, every time someone tries in our community, they get killed. Well, let's keep dying if we have a purpose. Let's keep dying if we have a purpose. Let's keep dying if we have a purpose. Right? What a marvelous example. And I want to congratulate Larry. Larry just got the Nipsey Hussle Award last weekend. This dude is talk about a champ. That's a champ. Get up, Larry. Larry, stand up. That's a champ. I love him to death. That's a champ. That's a champ. Foster care child who refused to give up or give in. And has become an incredible leader, not only for other young people, but for all of us. I'm so proud to be your friend. I really am. What happened?
His birthday Friday.
Your birthday Friday? What's his cash app? What's his cash app? Hey, I'm keeping it real. You spend that money on everybody else, give it to him. Give it to him. He's a wonderful leader, and I'm just so proud that he's a part of the National Action Network. Felipe, all your good friends. Felipe is doing it. Isn't he doing it? He is bringing folks up in here, and I know Ashley and Dominique, they're probably in tears because these two sisters had this vision of young people coming here and huddling and being able to come into the lab and be exceptional leaders. That's their vision. And so when they came in tonight and saw you guys all in here tonight, along with our wisdom section back there, they said, wow, the goal is coming closer. We're living in some marvelous times for young people. Well, I'm telling you, I didn't see this when I was young. I gotta tell you, I was normally by myself, but you guys have like a whole crew of young leaders. I mean, it's like so many of you. And each of you have this ability to run for office and get elected if you're organized. You can win and you can make a difference. You don't have to wait on somebody else. You can do it yourself. You can do it yourself. I mean, Obama said it best, right? He said, yes, we can, right? So he eliminated, yes, we could, yes, we should, you know, until yes, we will, right? And so that's important. It's really important. Some people say, oh, you know, Obama was there, he didn't really do anything. Some of the folks who speak in those words, and I gotta tell you, am I traveling out of the country because that man was in that seat? As a black man, I literally was treated differently when I traveled. It was like a renaissance. It was like, wow, it did make a difference. You'd be surprised when we get in certain roles of power, how does it really impact our own community? Just like I said to you, that judges are elected by largely district leaders and county committee people. Now you know that secret, and so therefore if you want to penetrate the judicial system, now do that. You know, get the list. In fact, whoever's willing to, I'll give you the whole list of every single district leader in Manhattan. I'll give you their email addresses and their telephone numbers. Start calling them up. I'll give you the list of the ones in Kings County and Brooklyn and Queens, the Bronx. I'll give you all the information, but it's up to you to determine what you're going to do with it. You know, a lot of people get elected with 10 votes, you know, because people don't know, right? Most district leaders normally don't have a race, even though I had a race back in 2015. And in fact, this was the scene of my great debate. And it was on Labor Day, and I'll never forget it, Ashley. I'll never forget that day when another person who had ran for Congress, ran for city council, and decided to run against Lil William Allen, who was not a public official. And when election day happened and the days after that, I got 71% of the vote. And I spent $900. He spent $90,000. Now, so the difference, but I want to explain the difference, because sometimes it's not just how much money you have to run, it's whether or not your neighbors know you. So one of the things I was doing in my debate, and I prayed on it. I said, well, what can I possibly say to show people what's really important? So I'm going to use him as my thesis. And so I said, you know what, we can run and we can criticize other people. Right? A lot of times people run and they'll criticize the incumbent, right? Or you can run and talk about your own record. There's a lot of people that run and they talk on promises, as opposed to what they actually have done. And so this vision, as I was standing up here, you know, I could hear Teresa Freeman's voice in my head drive me crazy, and Beverly Austin in the back, you know, like, go for it, go for it. See, one day you guys gonna know who Teresa Freeman is. She was incredible. Oh my goodness. And so I was able to use what he was using against his other opponents against him. He was saying, oh, the Congress didn't do this, the city council person didn't do this. So he had certain jobs where he did nothing. But nobody ever raised the issue. I said, hey, you were chairman of the Business Improvement District on 125th Street, but yet I didn't see any growth in any black-owned businesses. You were vice president of a bank, TD Bank, I think it's called, but who did you give loans to? I said, anybody in the audience here benefit any way from this guy? Everybody said, no. That was the end of him. So here's my point. You know, it's not just to make him feel like he's a bad person. My point is, in terms of politics, if you're authentic, you're an authentic person, come into the power with a degree of integrity and being authentic, right? Don't think that, you know, the commercials or this kind of stuff is how people win. Really get to know your neighbors, get to know a strategy. And I think I know the winning strategy. You know, the more that your neighbors know you or those connected to you, that leads to victory.
Yes.
It really leads to victory. And then you keep building a team. And you hold your team members accountable for what they decided to do with the team. You know, that everybody has a role to play, and making sure that role is played. And when people cannot do their task or their job, they got to be honest enough in a timely way to tell you that they need help or they can't do it. And it's okay. Let's find something that you can do. And so politics 101 is knowing that it's connected to power. Politics 101 is meaning that everyone has power, right? And that everybody, when they connect their powers to each other, they can change not only their own life, but the life of their community, right? So as a kid from 40th Street, I never forgot, I said, Mom, we gotta get better housing. Now here I'm a kid, right? And I remember her writing all these applications looking for better housing. And I never forgot, one day I picked up the phone and I called this former assistant secretary of a federal agency. In fact, I ran into her niece yesterday. And this lady's name was Dr. Gloria too. She was a Republican. But I had heard, she served with me on the community board, and she mentioned that she had all this housing in the community. And so I reached out to her, I spoke to my mom about it, and I found ourselves, and this was shortly after my twin brother was murdered, and we were able to move into this really beautiful townhouse, brownstone. Then I spoke to City Councilman Fred Sam. He said, well, I'm a kid, right? Spoke to him. He said, oh, there's a new building opening up. I think your family would love it. And that was Schaumburg Plaza on 110th and 5th Avenue. See what you can do with your power? You see how you can bring it home to your family? All y'all can do that. So even with the work here we do in crisis, our crisis work is really centered around the coordination of social capital. That's all it is. We're showing people who to call, how to do research, how to follow up. So the first step is, do you need a lawyer? So now we have a list of 30 lawyers. Do you know your politicians? We make sure this wall, yeah, you got to know your politicians. Well, you're not going to help us? Yes, we are helping. We're telling you what to do. You're going to research who your politicians are. We're going to show you how to access them. The third step we ask people to do is identify the congregations around your home and business in terms of a 1 mile radius and find out what they're doing, what resources they have. And the fourth step that we do here in Crisis at National Action Network is centered around chapter engagement. NAN has 120 chapters, and most of the members are very civically engaged. So we tell a crisis victim, you gotta meet a chapter and get involved. These are your neighbors. Learn out how they do things. So those are the 4 steps. And the thing in common with most of the people that call us in crisis, they're disconnected. They are socially disconnected from their power. And so the moment you start helping them to plug in, now they're gonna vote. They know who to vote for. They know the issues. They know how to read the Constitution. They know how to resolve things. That's the difference. So when we talk about Politics 101, I don't know if we're going to do a Q&A. We are? So I'm going to just wrap up this 1 minute by saying that I'm here for you guys. You know, I'm here almost every day, Monday through Saturday. Most of you already have my cell number. You know, if you're interested in being a leader, I would love to be your mentor. I would love to share with you everything that I know, you know, to help you maybe avoid some of the pitfalls I went through, but because I really want you to be successful. And I want to make sure that you meet other young people in your own peer group that's doing great things like Tim. Like you saw Tim sitting here with his humility, and you didn't really know who he was. And he's one of the most powerful young people in New York State, and you didn't know that. You got Larry sitting here, you didn't know how powerful he is. So sometimes there's young people, other than athletes and entertainers, that get power in your own culture and your own generation. And so we got to know who they are and how to utilize them and support them and develop also through them, you know? So that was, so I'll take Q&A, Vaughn.
So for anyone who has a question for Honorable William Allen, you can raise your hand and I'll bring the microphone to you. Who has anybody question? Or better yet, you can go and come on up here.
Hello, good night everyone. My name is Hercules Reed, and I'm also from Brooklyn in the house. Hey. So my question stems from my experience. Last year, I decided to take a chance on myself and my community, and I ran for city council. One of the issues was the consistent noise that just because you were an organizer and a leader in college doesn't mean you're ready for the big world, which I knew differently. I believed in myself, I believed in the skills, etc., etc. What advice do you have to these youth, myself included, when we go onto these extremely challenging experiences? How do we remain confident in what we know and who we are when the world is telling us, wait your turn, it's not your time?
There are like some really natural born leaders who have the gift of oration, and there are leaders who actually study, right? And as young people, you have student government and all kind of leadership development opportunities. I would say really learn the craft of leadership, knowing how to do the research. Don't say things like science is not important. COVID will last for 2 days. You got to be really careful because people are going to be listening to you and responding to you. And so you got to really speak with some degree of integrity and responsibility, right? And as a student government leader, if you are the chairman of the University Student Senate, part of your duty is to make sure that your constituency is best served. That might mean making sure that the tuition is affordable, right? Because at some point, CUNY was free until black and brown people started showing up, and then all of a sudden they started charging. But thank goodness now it's going back in reverse where we can have more access. But some young people actually kind of made that happen. As I'm sitting here, Tim, I'm thinking about Melvin Lowe, who you don't know. Melvin served 3 terms as the chairman of the University Student Senate. Melvin lives here in Harlem, and he was just a powerful young person that understood politics. And because of Melvin, many of us became close to Mario Cuomo. One day I'll share a picture of you with me, Mario and Melvin, and literally he would just invite us up to Albany just to sit with him and talk. That's the governor. And so when you have power and adults that recognize your power, you can do those kind of things. You don't have to wait for a public hearing or, organize something. You can literally sit down and figure out who's really on your side. And so as young people, when you're trying to make that transition from youth leadership to community leadership, just make sure that you also do your homework. You get all the information and you know what you're getting into, and that most of the leadership is not really centered around a speech. Most part of being a leader is in boring meetings. Right, Tim? Most of the time you're not speaking at all. You're really researching, studying, and trying to figure out the next steps. I mean, that's really, most of the stuff we do as leaders, you guys don't get to see. You really don't get to see. And so that's what I would suggest, and it is not possible for young people to move to the next level. I mean, you just elected some of the youngest people to Congress from New York. Let's get right. Brother Torres in the Bronx. In fact, we're now moving to next year with, is it 7? I think there's 7 people of color at least that will be going to the federal government from New York, right? So you got Torres in the Bronx. Who else we got up Bronx in Westchester? Who? Jamal Bowman. Who else? Who else do we got up there north? We got 2 more people up north.
Mondaire Jones.
Say?
Mondaire Jones.
Yeah, and who else do we have up north? Around Schenectady, further up.
I think
He's
those are
Afro-Latino.
Who else won? Mondaire, Jamal, Richie.
See, a lot of people don't know this kid, but he's upstate New York has elected his first person of color to Congress. So apparently we got the numbers, right? And so as a young person, you got power because now you got these examples of how it's done. So when you look at a Richie Torres record, so how did Ricky Torres get elected as a Democrat nominee for Congress at what, 31, is he, right? He's 31, how did he do that, right? So then you begin to examine his biography. Study his history, how did he do it? Remember I told you I was the first teenager on a community board, but even that I was no ordinary teenager. I don't want to like underestimate what you thought I was. Back then I had the power of menacing behind me. So the councilman saw my youth council and saw me chairing youth activities at my youth center. And that's how that happened. And when I got appointed as a trustee of the school district, that was also some older adults that felt young people should be at the table, but I came with power, right? And so one of the things I did when I was on the school board was making sure that every middle school in the district had a student government or a leadership development program, right? So therefore, for example, with being a student government leader, if you look at, what's for your camp, what school you come from, Tim?
City Tech.
So Tim is at City Tech. And if I was president of City Tech, I probably would look at all the high schools and middle schools around that campus and figure out how to bring those young people into that experience. There you go.
He was
that's
the
example.
president before me.
So that's how you do it. And so therefore you guys build a relationship. So now he's running. He reaches out to his classmates. Hey guys, this is what I'm going to do. You are my colleagues in student government. Here's what I'm trying to do. And now you got a team. You got a team. Corey Provost, right?
District leader.
Yeah, he's my colleague. He's a district leader, Kings County. He's finishing up at New York Law School. CUNY Law School. And he's probably going to be the next city councilman or something in Brooklyn. But it didn't happen overnight for him, right? You got to put in the time. Brian Benjamin, who's like 41 now here in Harlem, but that didn't happen overnight for him. He spent nearly 10 years on the community board. Harnessing his skills, and he got to know people like me and Teresa Freeman and Keith Wright, who loved how he was heading, and we supported him. And he won his seat through county committee. In fact, everybody that served in the state senate from Harlem, yeah, I can be long-winded. I'm going to get another question. Everybody that served in the state senate from Harlem, this is a factoid, right? So every state senator that got elected in Harlem since the 1950s have won through county committee. Not through a regular election, since 1954. So that means that the community really, the power structure actually selects the state senator. Question, I'm sorry, that was a long answer. I tell you, we can have like a convention. I can do like 4 hours. I'm serious, I got so much I want to share with you guys, you just don't know. I can't wait till you reach out to me. What's the other questions?
What's the other question? Anybody else?
Come on, give me some tough ones. Here's the mic, come on.
Big Will, thank you so much, man. I wanted to ask, I know you tapped into it earlier, but can you speak more about the importance of building relationships within your community and how integrity can follow you throughout life?
Yes. So, you're not going to win office if all you do is make a bunch of flyers and do a mailing, right? Teresa Freeman taught me this. I remember in '99, she said, listen, don't keep going to the tall buildings. She said, let's go to the side streets. I said, really? But that's still not enough people. She said, listen, trust me on this. Let's go to the side streets. She was so right. The side streets, when you begin to count them, were more than the tall buildings in the district. And none of the other candidates wanted to go to all those side streets. And when we went to the side street, because the height of the buildings were much lower here in Harlem, people actually remember you coming by. And so in '99, that's how we won, and we kind of beat the machine. And so the key thing is expand your database. Old people would say expand your phone book or your Rolodex, right? And so as you're looking for a district to serve, get to know as many people on each block as possible. You know, so for example, if you're in Brooklyn, you're about to run for city council, you got to say to yourself, how many people in a particular election district know me, or know my family, or know my close friends? Sit down and meet with your friends and your family and let them know what you're doing. And you say to them, I need you to come back to me next week and name 25 people that you're gonna call on my behalf to help me run and win. That's what it takes. You really got to count the data, and the data will help you to win. A lot of times people think it takes a lot of money. No, it just takes knowing people and getting people to follow through, right? So there's two pathways to victory. One is a resource path where you maybe identify 100, 250 people who will raise money for you, and that will be their own focus. And the other path is voter influencers. And often voter influencers, PTA presidents, block association presidents, tenant leaders, those kind of folks. But also, sometimes Ms. Johnson or Ms. Perez may not be the president of anything, but people go to them. So you got to learn who those people are and really spend some quality time. And when you call them up, don't say, elect me, say, how can I be of service? And that's what they're going to remember.
Hello. Are there any first-time voters here? Anybody? Raise your hands up. Okay, so the election is 8 days away, right? And there's a lot going on the ground, online. Most people do not like the choices of the candidates. And a lot of young people and a lot of elders still feel conflicted. And some people feel like they've been bullied to vote for Biden or into a vote. See the guy and other people are saying, don't be a slave to the Democrats and all that. So as I grew up, I'm 33, and I'm from Brooklyn, but I was bred in Harlem. And growing up, being Merck's daughter, we knew all the politicians, but it was a Harlem machine. I don't know if y'all know about that, but it's a Harlem machine. It was like basically if you went against the Harlem machine, you did not get elected. So it was kind of like what you brought up about that, waiting your turn. And I remember you grew up at the foot. Every time I saw them, I saw William Allen. So William Allen was the youngin', a part of the Harlem machine. So I was interested in how he was going to answer that question to what you said, because he was a part of it, but necessarily he had to prove himself and jump in. But at the end of the day, I wanted to hear not your pitch, but for those who are still conflicted for the vote, 8 days away, who feel they don't even feel they should vote, even if they're registered or whatnot. They're not interested, they feel their vote doesn't count, or they don't like who's there. What do you say to those people who feel there's an issue right now or they don't know what to do? Because there's a lot of Gen Z voters and there's a lot of voters right now that's needed to vote to actually get the election away from Trump. And that's me personally, I'm not for Donald Trump. I chair Huddle, but Huddle does not have a stance politically. Just saying that and making that clear, but I want him out of office.
It's a great question. So we were tricked in 2016. Somebody on social media convinced young African Americans and folks of color that Hillary Clinton and her husband was part of promoting a crime bill that wrongfully convicted many members of our community. And they did that without sharing a whole lot of information, and it caused a significant amount of folks in our community not to vote. And I believe it happened also because many of us are just not educated politically.
Yes.
Right? And we have not really claimed our power. And in fact, that instance, we were claiming our power probably at the wrong time. Because what ended up happening, the argument that we were using against Hillary allowed this current incumbent to appoint more federal judges that's going to be there for a lifetime. And so that's where the political education comes in that. And so remember how I started I'm about to say my lecture, see, I'm a professor, how I started my presentation and I talked about the power that you have to elect judges. Well, this president, while they're fighting over one person to serve on the Supreme Court, do you know how many federal court appointments that he's made in his current 3 years and some months? Anybody know how many judges he appointed? They have lifetime appointments? Yeah, you guys, I'm telling you, most of us see a judge before we see a politician, and the judges in America have a lot of power. And so you got to be able to politically educate folk. Biden was part of the Senate, and He was part of the crime bill development. They'll forget that Biden was vice president with Obama. They forget about that. They'll go way back 30 years ago and say he was part of this whole crime bill thing, and which was significant. I don't want to downplay it, but we cannot be politically naive, right? We got to be able to look at the issue that's in front of us, because sometimes we tend to want to hurt our family members just to prove a point. And so just imagine we decide, okay, we're not going to vote for either of them. Let me tell you, Donald Trump wants you to do that exactly. He's betting on you not voting. They are so scared of losing power. It's ugly. Come on, read up, guys. I'm telling you. And I got to tell you, if this guy gets back in, well, I hope not. But we all got Rolodex and phone books and Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts, and we can TikTok and do all these kind of things. Young voters, we gotta get our entire family out, our neighbors, everybody you see, you gotta talk about vote. The next, 8 days? That's all, I'm telling you, don't let people make this an excuse not to vote. Your friends say, oh man, I'm not into that. No, you gotta be into that. If you care about me, you got to do this. Because I just learned that judges are elected and that this president has appointed nearly 300 federal judges, and it's about to be on. It's about to be on, right? And so as we elect someone we have access to, and then you guys begin to become county committee people and district leaders and public officers, then you understand how all this stuff works. I already told you the most powerful young person in New York State is sitting right here in the doggone room. And as we begin to share that information with you, then you understand the power that you get. Right? The fact that you now can control a police station if you want to. Right? There was a young man, and I'm going to go to the final question. There was a young man, African immigrant, who stood in his doorway in the Bronx. And his family learned that he was shot with more than 40 bullets. But you know what? That's only part of the story for me as a professor and someone who liked to research stuff in terms of what really happened to him, right? What really happened to him, it was not only the police killing him, his community killed him. When we don't claim our power, we die. In that police precinct district, that police station had no functioning community council. Nobody went to the meeting. Nobody was raising the questions on that precinct. Just imagine if we knew that we had the power to go to those meetings and shape the culture of that precinct. That young man can still be alive today. Now, this is a hypothetical on my part. I might be stretching it to some degree. But I know that often, sometimes when I go to community council meetings, even here in Harlem, I see the same 9 women over 70 in the meeting. I don't see young people. I don't see men. You hear what I'm saying? So it's not them or us, them or they. The power really rests with us. What are you going to do with the power that you got? And when you choose not to vote, or you get caught in the flim-flam with Trump, who's telling people that he's done more for African Americans in the history of the country. I was like, and he said, but I can't see anything, it's dark in here. And then the moderator of the panel is an African American woman. I was like, what? And he gets away with saying stuff like that. And you know what? It's like, yo, this guy really think we're really stupid, but guess what? This guy has studied history. He's really a genius, guys. He ain't stupid. He ain't stupid, right? They say even a person that's insane don't know they're insane. But he's not stupid. He has studied us and know exactly what we're going to do and not do. Trust me. All of a sudden now he's talking about all the stuff he's done for black people. He's been counting the numbers. One moment he's talking about promoting the people that want to lynch us. The next moment he's talking about he's the hero of black America. This guy understands the science of us. You gotta beat him to his own game, guys. You gotta hold yourself responsible, and as you meet other young people, you now become the new political educators. That Politics 101 is about claiming power. And that you have the power to change your life, the life of your family, and the life of your community. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Learned a lot. Thank you so much, Brother Allen. So that was our last segment. I hope that each one of you, took something from everything that he said and can apply it toward your own circles. It's getting late. I ain't gonna keep you out here all night. So for the new huddlers or the new folks in the crowd, you see our guests in the back making preparations to serve food. Be nice to them. They're volunteers. They're here every week, dedicated and loyal. David, Lisa, Miss Kathy, they do really phenomenal. Also, next week, special huddle event. Reverend Al Sharpton, Rise Up book. How many of you have a copy of that or know about it? Okay, so guess what? He'll be here next week to engage in a conversation with us similar to this, where he'll talk about, his experiences. For the new folks, you guys all familiar with Reverend Al Sharpton, correct? Okay, good. So, it's always interesting to kind of have the idea with somebody that will, how do they get into this work? How do they keep going? So he'll be here to address those things and then, engage in a conversation. It'll be a unique huddle. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope to see you all here. Any other note? I believe you want to say something.
So we need everyone's email because there was such a lot of you that came. We need everyone's email before you leave. So please come up and write your email.
All right, thank you. So you got something you want to add?
Yep, I'm gonna add it. Just for next week, those of you who are huddlers, I know it's a lot of new faces, it's a lot of old faces. Good to see you guys. What's up, Daimo? That was our two-time president. But next week we will have 15 free books for the youth, the huddlers. And those who are adults, of course, you're welcome to purchase. But there's a special price for the young people. The books, as far as they're $15, but they're supposed to be, I think there's 25 in the stores. And we'll also be engaging with Reverend Sharpton. If you have questions, even if it's not about Rise Up, but like you just want to talk to him about advocacy or his work or whatever, please submit them to NAN Youth Huddle. That's NAN Youth, the word youth, Huddle, HUDDLE, the word Huddle, at gmail.com, and to submit them, and then you can share them with Rev next week. All right? Wait, actually, yes. So Reverend will be here in person next week. Rev will be in person next week, signing his books and answering questions with the young people. We encourage the youth with their questions. This is not going to be a debate with adults going back and forth or whatever. This is about a youth-led conversation. I'm not going to be up here. It's going to be led by our youth leaders, so understand it, okay? Thank you. Oh, wait, and also before I bring up Damo, I just want to salute, of course, Trayvon Butler. He's our special advisor. Patrice Perry, raise your hand, Patrice. Woo! That's our senior advisor. My big sister, Dominic Sharpton's right. Co-chair and management director. But our young leaders, Chris and Felipe is our youth rep. I'm extremely proud of them. They've been holding it down for the last 2 weeks. Y'all probably all know Felipe and Chris. And then Ocean. Where's my you know what I mean? They're an assistant. So let's clap them up. Welcome out to the leadership. They came after a pandemic. This is not easy. We literally, and of course our social media director and digital media director, Ahmed. But I just wanted to salute you all because this is our 7th year of Huddle. And after COVID and all of that, it got crazy. We couldn't meet here since March.
And it was hard. And some people joined online, some people joined on Facebook. And then we started 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago back here, and it was small and started, and then it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. But these young people were committed, regardless of what's going on, and what is going on. And also, I just gotta always, Strategy for Black Lives is in the building. You can't talk about Tim, but Tim's an activist on the front lines. Francie, I see you came in. Those are my brothers in the movement. I don't care, I claim y'all already. Strategy for Black Lives and Copy Coalition. Passionate youth. You already know, they queens. He got his due, but at the end of the day, I know he's also a Strategy for Black Lives, so we all love Larry. But I salute to these young people that's been on the front lines this summer. They've been out there, not just this summer, but period, putting their lives on the line, sacrificing their time. And of course, always we must give respect. We are in our House of Justice. So we must give respect to all leaders and founders of our Sharpton. And we must also give respect to our members who've been here since I was a little girl. My mother, who's a founder member of the National Network. Lifetime member, Mr. Arthur, all of the volunteers. While I'm naming these people, I know y'all like, oh, actually, we're hungry, sit down. We would not be nothing without these people that I just named. People, every single person that I just named is volunteering. Nobody here is getting paid for being here at Huddle. So I just want you to understand and appreciate that we love y'all, we value y'all, but we understand whose shoulders we stand upon. We know the legacy that we are in. We are in the nonviolent King tradition. Understand that as well. So yes, we scream no justice, no peace. Peace is not nonviolence. That's two different things. That's another Huddle. Yeah, exactly. One person got it. We speak. So that's two different things. Understand that. But at the end of the day, I'm excited about what William Allen did today. We might have to come back to the topics because we didn't get to go as far as I wanted to go on some of the issues. But he pitched. I think he's running. So at the end of the day, thank you, William Allen, for what you're doing. Next week, we'll have Reverend Sharpton. And then going forward, we'll have more guests. We're also working on a virtual conference. So we want to be working with the young people out here, the youth groups. If I don't know that you are a part of the youth group, let me know. We love y'all. This is not a competition. This is about family and uniting. Yes. Because it's going to take all of us together. So I'm thankful that we are huddling up. Like William said, the vision 7 years ago was to help and unite dreamers to develop, lead, and empower. And we're doing just that. Thank you. God bless, and eat back.
One announcement, two things actually. So for next week when y'all come, first of all, we would like for you all to get here a little earlier. We do start at 6 o'clock, so we do want y'all to be here on time because we have Reverend Sharpton is going to be here in person with us. We know that he has a crazy schedule, so we want to respect that. We don't want him having to repeat himself or to start talking to half of an empty room and then people are coming in late and so we want to make sure that we're here, we're present, we're attentive, we have our books, and that we're ready to talk with Reverend Sharpton. I just want to also note, Reverend Sharpton has never done a huddle in 7 years. He has never ever come to Huddle in 7 years. This is the first Huddle he is coming to ever in the history of Huddle's existence. And so we want to make sure that we're here to greet our leader and give him a great impression of Huddle. A lot of people there, have some some misconceptions about the Reverend, but we know the real Reverend, and we know that he's down for us, and he has given us young people the platform. We get to have the space, we get to have the resources, we get to have the staff, got to be here for us. Like, he's given us so much to give us this platform, so we want to make sure that we show up in numbers, big numbers, and let him know that we're here, and we got our community, and we holding it down. So I want y'all to be here on time, attentive, get your book, be ready, have your questions ready. So we want to show Rev that the Huddle is popping, period. Second, I lost my train of thought. Oh no, I didn't. Public speaking. Public speaking is very important to us as activists. I will take my mask off for this part. And we want to make sure that our young people are getting the tools that you need to learn how to speak publicly. I know that it's something that you may take for granted, but it's very important. And I know that some of you who have gotten the opportunity to speak publicly know that it can be a very nerve-wracking experience. But we want to definitely help you and support you and give you the tools that you need, because it is a skill to acquire. And we do have tools that you can learn that can help you to make your delivery and your public speaking very good. So what I'm going to do for y'all, starting next week, 10 to 15 minutes during dinner. Anybody who wants some tools, wants to help, wants to start practicing their public speaking, I will be here to help you. 10 to 15 minutes every single Monday. You gotta sign up though when you come at Huddle. When you come for Huddle, sign up and let us know you want some tools for the night on public speaking and you wanna practice. And I will be here to be practicing with folks during dinner, during the dinner break. You can come every Monday on this podium and learn how to speak publicly. It's very important. And I want y'all to make sure y'all walk away with that tool. Yes. All right. Yes, question? Was there a question? You just want to comment? Okay, that's all right. I know y'all hungry. I'm gonna let y'all go eat. I just wanted to give y'all that. Yes, yes. Question? Can you do what? Oh, anybody who's listening to me can sign up. We definitely want to give it the opportunity to our young people, but if our seasoned wisdom crowd would like to also get some tools, come on down and sign up. It's free, and it's going to be very meaningful for you. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Can I go on charger?
Oh, yes. Got you.
Oh, my bad.
Wait before, can we all sing happy birthday to Larry?
Oh, yeah.
Yes! Scorpio season is wild kids!
Y'all gonna do that. Let them eat, please.
All right, we're on a time limit, so we'll do the happy birthday afterwards. But let's have our youth go in the back, get some food, share each other's information, socials, all of that stuff. Thank you for coming out.
Good sis.